So, good morning, everyone. I was thinking that if Udit could start first, but because of some technical issues, could not do that. So, what the part of presentation he was planned to present was about basics about next generation sequencing technology. How is it done, and what are the different components of it? I'll start with directly with application, and when Udit is ready, he can probably take it back to the basics of NGS technology. So um, I will the scope of today's presentation is basically to um, let you know what are the different applications there you could apply in clinical settings. So I will thoroughly just for giving me opportunity to talk into this seminar. I see a good number of students and others joined in the call, so hopefully it will be useful to them. So
Ashutosh, I
go
think you are keeping your mic very close to your mouth. Can you just?
okay. Is it better?
I think now it's clear. Thoda distance. Just keep the distance, right? Yes.
Okay, okay, fine. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll start with the basics of NGS, a little bit of basics, and the rest of it Udit will cover. So before 1990, sequencing was done in old-fashioned way, like using gels and manually calling bases. Then Sanger sequencing by capillary electrophoresis was introduced, and this led labs to sequence long DNA fragments with automated base calls. And as technology evolved, NGS came into the picture, and it changed the entire paradigm. So in a way, NGS is similar to Sanger sequencing, that it sequences DNA fragments. Um, but unlike Sanger sequencing, where it either sequence forward or reverse trend, this allows NGS allows millions of fragments to be sequenced in a single run versus, one stand. So here it's parallelly we do millions of DNA fragments to be sequenced in one go rather than going one by one like we do in Sanger sequencing. So NGS is a modern high throughput DNA sequencing technology which is parallel and rapid. Um, with increasing use, time, error rates are decreasing, complexity of the entire workflow is decreasing, and there are many and many more people are getting into this domain and utilizing sequencing in various other applications formats. And it has wide range of applications. Some of them are being oncology testings, reproductive genetic health, rare disorders, HLAs, HLA typing, infectious diseases. Let me put my pointer. Yeah. So when we talk about oncology testing, I have put some examples over here, which means um, like using NGS into cancer screening like BRCA, oncogenomic profiling, which is an upcoming or being widely adopted to different clinical setups. And many of the cancer research, cancer testings, like small panels, bigger panels, are being utilized in NGS, where we could do various genes at the same time coming from different patients all together in one single run, rather than going one patient at a time. You can pool samples from multiple patients in one go, and that too for various kind of biomarkers. And some of them could be like breast cancer screening, which is most commonly used, BRCA1, BRCA2, TP53, or Alcaret, Ross, or EGFR. All these kind of screens can be put in a form of a panel, and it can be screened for multiple patients in one go. Reproductive genetic health is another example where NGS is extensively being utilized, which is okay. So, which is being used for NIPT and PGT. There are two different common examples. If you guys know, NIPT is non-invasive prenatal testing, which is basically done on a pregnant lady at the age of, and 10th week of pregnancy to know the genetic makeup of the growing fetus. So it is common blood test where you draw 10 ml of blood from a pregnant lady from her arm, extract DNA and do the genetic sequencing on the blood, on the fetal blood. So usually the circulating DNA comes in mother's blood from the fetus, and you can screen that blood and check out if the growing baby is having any genetic abnormality or not. So the usual way, what it has been previously done was invasive way, where they put take some um, fluid, amniotic fluid through the series and do the karyotyping to know the genetic makeup. Now you don't need to go by invasive way, which comes with a danger of being creating miscarriage to the ladies. The non-invasive way is just the blood testing. And what kind of genetic makeup generally we know through these screenings are having a monosomy or trisomy, like you must have heard about Turner syndrome, Down syndrome, and all these different kind of syndromes that you can actually screen through blood tests. Pre-implantation genetic testing is basically utilized in IVF centers. After in vitro fertilizations for the similar kind of information, like if you have the embryo which is going to be implanted in mother's uterus is having any genetic abnormality or not, that you can find out through a next generation sequencing. The earlier way, what pregnancy was done through was analyzing the embryos through some microscopic method, where they choose 2 or 3 embryos, like good looking embryos, to the implantation and do the without knowing the genetic makeup. One of the disadvantage of going through that kind of traditional method of screening embryo is after implantation of 2 or 3 embryos, they tend to grow like all 2 or 3 embryos tend to grow, and that's the one reason probably you see like in through IVFs, ladies generally get twins or triplet kids. So and that's the burden of like, because those kind of triplets always tend to have a chances of getting premature delivery, and also the health risks are also there. So all these two you can invite through NGS, where you can just implant single embryo for the development, for the implantation. So we'll come to all this thing through a bit more details. How do we do that, and what are the different tools and technologies we can utilize through NGS? So, but I mean, this is just introduction for that. Rare disorders is something which is generally done by exome sequencing. If you all know, exomes are the coding regions of our DNA. Our human DNA has exons and introns, and most of the portions which have a coding part of our genome is called exome. So we do extensive screening, sequencing through for rare disorder and other complex disorders. HLA typing, again, one example where we are utilizing next generation sequencing, where the information is being utilized in different blood registries or transplant cases. Infectious disease, COVID is one example which is quite relevant, and everybody understand that. HPV is human papilloma virus and sexually transmitted infections, and that could be utilized through next generation sequencing. Different drug resistance and MTV drug resistance screening, etc., is being utilized in next generation sequencing. So these are some common examples which we generally talk about. So, and here is like some basic information, like when we talk about any any genetic approach for understanding genetic variation, there are just 3 kind of different sequencing is done. So I mean, those who are very new to NGS, they might get, it could be a little bit of overwhelm for them, like what do we do in NGS? There are just 3 approaches. First is whole genome sequencing. I mean, I've taken this example for human genome sequencing so that, I mean, it's quite understandable for everyone. So when you have a whole genome sequencing, it means you are sequencing genome. So this is one approach where your whole genome sequencing is done. Second approach is whole exome sequencing, which is generally smaller fragments of this. So if you're talking about, exome, that means you are just sequencing 2% part of the human whole genome, which is basically the coding regions of it. And third approach is targeted panel, where you have a specific gene, screening for some specific genes, right? So any sequencing reactions, any sequencing approach actually comes with 3 different basic approaches, I would say. So whole genome approach, whole exome approach, and targeted panels, right? So this should be clear. So whole genome will basically have had discovery power, because you are actually sequencing entire human whole genome. There are so many other factors you can actually find out through sequencing reactions. Exome is basically sequencing the coding part of your genome, which will be 2% of entire genome, almost 2% of entire genome. And targeted are even smaller, which could be a cancer disease specific or region specific, or any particular kind of biomarkers or genes which you want to screen for. This won't be having any discovery power. So before I get into this, I'll let you know like what are the different platforms generally from Illumina side we actually utilize to do all the sequencing reactions. Of course, Udit will explain all these things later on, but for just for an introduction, there are 6 different sequencing platforms from Illumina that could be utilized for any of sequencing approaches what I discussed last in the last slide. So iSeq is the smallest platform, iSeq, MiniSeq, MySeq, NextSeq, NextSeq 2000, 1000, NovaSeq. So these are the smallest from smallest to highest platforms. And depending on the what you want to sequence, what is your approach, you could pick up any of these platforms to do the sequencing. Okay, so how do these sequencers vary from each other? So these are, as I said in my previous slide, iSeq to my NovaSeq are the one which we go from smaller to bigger platform side. And if you could, I could give you the output options in terms of number. This is from 1 GB to go up to 6 TB output. So you don't have to be get confused with the output options. But the difference is like when you go from smaller to bigger platforms, what it gives you more. It can put more samples into it. It gives you newer applications to try on, and also there is options to go to a greater depth. So as you know, when you this see on this slide, like you can do smaller panels, smaller genomes, and smaller platforms. When you go up, you can do even bigger applications like exome, NIPT, or human whole genome sequencing, or single cell genomics applications. So, and this is to understand one slide. I don't know if you could see that clearly on this slide. This is one thing which is on Illumina's website. It gives you like what are the popular applications that can be done, and show you like what are the different platforms you can utilize for all these applications. So this is something which is not very pertinent to today's discussions. So what is the market looking like? When you talk about Indian NGS market, this is how Indian NGS market looks like. From 2020 to 2021, it grew really fast, and may it be the examples of exome sequencing, NIPT, HLA, comprehensive genomic profiling in small oncology panels. You see the growth. I mean, exome is the one which grew really fast, like 230% in an year, and so as other applications. So of course, this is not a complete picture of entire sequencing market, but this is some popular application which has been extensively utilized in the Indian clinical market domain, and how the market is growing like. And what are the different technologies being utilized to cater these sample inputs? So you see, Illumina is a major player which has like 78% of the market samples, which is done on Illumina sequencing technology. Thermo is the second one, and which caters almost 15% of it, and then rest applications. So what are the market drivers? Why is this NGS market is growing? There are various factors. First, one important is COVID, because of the emergence of various variants of coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 virus. Sequencing is the one tool which could help you to identify what are the different variants coming from uh, this virus. So of course, there are extensive applications on this. Traditional testing methods are shifting on to NGS, and there are some government regulation which is there to stop DNA samples, sending DNA samples outside the country. So I mean, the idea was to get all the DNA sequencing requirements to fulfill inside the countries, and there are many more players coming to the market who are catering this need. So hence the few samples which are going outside the country because of convenience, or prices, or any other factors, they has to be done inside the country. And for reproductive genetic health and ECOG guidelines, they're stating that American College of Obstetrician and Gynecology guidelines, they were earlier suggesting. Yeah. Is there any question?
मेरा वो देख लेना बस कार्ड का देख लूंगा ना सब कुछ
Mute. Yeah, go ahead, Ashutosh.
Okay, so ECOG guidelines tells like it was basically related to NIPT guidelines, where sequencing was earlier recommended for the ladies who are 35 or above, but now they're saying like basic screening is can be done on any pregnant ladies, and their popularity looming around non-invasive testings. Some what are the medical tourism, like people coming from different countries like South Asian country, Middle East. You see, like many people come here as medical tourism for different kinds of treatments. They are also enhancing, having some influence in the market where their Indian labs are doing extensive next generation sequencing on their samples, and there, of course, their awareness, better logistics, and sample availabilities, the other factors which is helping the NGS market to grow in Indian territory. So, after this basics, this is some common workflow. Okay, again, Udit would explain this in a better way, but I'll just tell you there are just 4 steps for any kind of sequencing reaction. Remember, I was telling you about whole genome approach, exomes, or targeted panel, whatever approach could be. On all the cases, there are just 4 steps. Sample preps means once you get your samples, it can be a blood, tissue, or anything. You have to do extractions on them, and then library preparations, like making those DNA fragments ready to get onto the machine. This is called library preparations. Sequencing could be any of those 6 platforms, and then data analysis, which will be done after sequencing of these reactions, right? So, what is library? I mean, when you talk about a library preparation is generally a step where you make your DNA samples ready to get onto the sequencing platform. So, the no matter what your application is, all libraries end up looking similar. That means it will have a DNA insert, some read primers, indices, and adapters. So adapters P5 and P7 are universal adapters which are recognized by the sequencing platform, which will be used for sequencing. Indices are the barcodes. It's basically the sample barcodes. Means when you do library preparation coming from different patients, you put a kind of barcode which will help to distinguish one sample from other samples when you do pooling from those samples. And what actually happens, sequencing happens on a flow cell, which is basically a glass slide. We can call it chip as well, and it has a lane on it. Those lanes will have a complete sequences of these universal primer P5 and P7s. Once you apply those samples, it get binds. Then there is a clusterization, amplification happens, and then finally comes to the sequencing side. So I would like to show, okay, so I'll leave it to Udit to explain it, like how actually sequencing happens. So basically the proprietary technology what Illumina follows is called sequencing by synthesis, which means every nucleotide is in the sequencing is tagged with a fluorescent nucleotides, and then once they get incorporated on the growing instant, it emits signals which is detected by laser. So it's a base by base sequencing, which means that it gets a robust data quality. So again, these all things what I'm showing happens inside the machine, so there is no manual interference. This is basically the technology how actually sequencing happens. So Udit will explain it but more in his part of presentations. So once, what is this is technology. I mean, this is really important to tell you whenever you're thinking about setting up all sequencing runs in a clinical setup. And why is it important? Because there are few properties, few parameters which are generally tested when you do sequencing run for a clinical lab setup. So SBS technology is one which is widely adopted the technology because its benefit is it has a robust performance and data quality. It's has proven base calling accuracy and unbiased coverage sequencing coverage approach. So there are some Phred scoring technology, like any sequencing reaction in the world are always tested based on a quality score matrix for DNA sequencing. And there are 3 different colon scores like Q10, Q20, and Q30. What it actually means that probability of incorrect base calls, like you have a, let's say you screen sequence 10 bases, the chances probability of one is making it base calling accuracy of 90%. So Illumina platforms actually gives Q30 scoring, meaning whatever it qualifies, 99.9% accurate with 0.1% chances of error. And this is Q30 means Q quality 1 in 1000, 3 zeros. So one base going around out of 100 is 99% accuracy, 1 out of 1000 makes it 99.3% accuracy. So this is best quality result what actually you get from sequencing, Illumina sequencing platforms. Sequencing with pairings is the another property where sequencing of your DNA fragment happens not only from left to right, but also from right to left. And remember, I was talking about barcodes. How and why samples can be mixed together and how do you separate it? So when you pull different samples together, it's called multiplexing. And after sequencing based on those barcodes, you can actually separate those sequences from different sample types. Like when it's coming from patient number 1 or 10, in that example, based on that, you can actually separate them out and find out which sample is behaving in what important way. So these are some basics of sequencing. And then after sequencing, there's a local run manager on the machine which creates, run, monitor, and also analyze data. This will be dealt in detail in the bioinformatics sessions. So coming to the first applications, what I started discussing with initially is Illumina as oncology testings, and that this is the global cancer data incidence. If you see all ages, breast cancer is topmost cancer issues for ladies, which comprises almost 25% of it. Then colorectal, lung, and the cervical cancer is the top ones. In similar way, males in all ages is lung, prostate, colorectal, stomach, and liver. And how do we do that? So there are various other methods where panels which you can utilize for screening all these things. And in Indian perspective, there are 6 common breast cancer types of breast: oral, cervical, lung, stomach, and colorectal. And estimated number of people living with cancer in India are almost over 2 million patients with cancer. So there are various other methods you can actually do. So these are, when you talk about germline, solid tumor profiling, and hematology, there are various options available from Illumina and to screen those patients with the NGS panels, right? So BRCA panel, which comprises BRCA1 and BRCA2, true site cancer and true site hereditary cancer for germline screening, solid tumor cancers for hotspot, childhood cancer panel, or focus panel. So these are resequencing panels, right? So resequencing assays, like for example, let's say this focus panel. So it assay for 52 genes relevant to solid tumors and can be analyzed using both DNA and RNA concurrently. Similar way, all the comprehensive panels and bigger panels target resequencing solutions for different number of kind of genes. So these are the targeted gene panel, targeted NGS analysis approach, which I was mentioning earlier. So so in terms of different composition, let me take this example: true site cancer. There are 94 genes which are relevant for hereditary cancer cause. So you can actually take out DNA from your patient sample, put these panels, and those panels will be utilized to screen patients for 94 different biomarkers, right? So this is, and doing the NGS, and after NGS you analyze the data and let you know if there are variants or any mutations occurring in that particular kind of biomarker, which could be utilized for further assessment. And what, when you talk about a panel, how does it look like? Panel is a collection of different genes together in a where you can do screening for with the patient sample. So for example, there is a panel called TrueSight 15. So it screens for 7 different cancer types, which is lung, melanoma, colon, gastric, prostate, ovarian, breast cancer. There are 15 genes involved in this panel. So let's say you have a patient which having doctors are thinking of like screening it for colon cancer, for example. So they will put those extracted DNA against this panel, and these they'll amplify and see the mutations in on these genes only, right? Similar way, there's a panel called TST16, which is again for 7 different types of 8 different types of cancers. And the other thing is, like, the biomarkers are increasing every year. There are many and many more biomarkers are being discovered, and importance of them are being actually relevant for
Ashutosh, I think we lost you.
DNA RNA variants implicated in various tumor types. And TSO500 is one. with a 523 genes screened at a time. Right, so it has a pan cancer. It's also called pan cancer biomarker because it can screen against not one particular type of cancer, unlike what I was mentioning earlier, like 7 or 8 different types of cancer, but it actually does the uh, pan cancer approach. And what are they include genomic signature markers like TMB and MSI, which is an emerging biomarker. And TMB is basically called tumor mutational burden, which is assessment of non-synonymous mutations carried by tumor cells per megabase of genome. And you can decide based on if tumor high, tumor low. Doctors have a flexibility to change onto different drugs type, like for example, Imfinzi or Keytruda. There are different drugs available, which shows like if patient have a high tumor burdens, you have mm, mismatch repair enzymes. I mean, many of you might be knowing, all our genes or the genomes in our body have tendency to go, to do errors and correcting them by themselves, right? So there are a set of enzyme called mismatch repair gene, enzyme from mismatch repair gene, which corrects all those continuously happening variations in our genome. So if there is defect in that enzyme, it won't be able to fix those variations in our genome, and that might lead to a cancer. So this is one of the other marker which is discovered to find out the score of microsatellite instability and what is the chances of genes getting defective, which could eventually lead to cancer. So this is another approach. Benefits. First thing, you'll be doing a lot of DNA sequencing around all the relevant biomarkers and other novel fusion genes, etc. You can find in one sample. There are other hematological panels available. So these are again coming in different configurations like myeloid panel, FusionPlex, ALL, leukemia panel, lymphoma, and liquid flex. So all have a different kinds of biomarker available in the market in different package and number of genes available. And these all can be utilized in Illumina sequencing platform. So Illumina sequencing platforms are open systems where you can have a library preps coming from different brands and different composition and sequence it on the sequencing platform. So, and there are like specific cancer panels, like breast cancer, hereditary breast, ovarian cancer, lung cancer. So different kind of screenings with all these biomarkers can be done on Illumina sequencing platforms. There's another advantage of NGS technology. In general, want to have some sort of biomarkers which is not available universally or not being utilized as a off-the-shelf offering. You can create your own design and do it screening for the patients right on the system, utilizing the sequencing technology and following all those 4 basic steps of what I just mentioned earlier. So that was in short for oncology. Reproductive genetic health is one thing which I initially mentioned, like how it is being utilized for NIPT and PGS, and kind of sequencing platform. What you would be needing is small scale sequencing platform like MySeq or MiniSeq. That could be utilized, and these are the small scale applications. And if you see like incidence rate up, why is this NGS being so relevant for reproductive genetic health screening? If you see Indian population, there are 138 crores, and every year Indians give like 24 million births, babies born every year. And if you see the incidence, the chromosomal disorder incidence, which is 1 in out of 150 lakh births, and most common of them are Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, Tau syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, and others, right? And you can see like what is the incidence rate, and there are some representative pictures of abnormalities caused the genomic abnormalities and the phenotypes of those kids. Of course, this is not the only parameter to decide on, but this so I was mentioning about how many millions birth actually happens, and what are the different common incidence rate actually there. So we're talking about Down syndrome. 1 out of 150 live births are having chromosomal disorder. Main important of them are Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, Tau syndrome, and what are its incidence rate in general population. So let me put my pointer back. Okay. So when NIPT was started initially, I mean, in 2013, there was it was very expensive test initially, and now that since many people are adopting this test, and this is turning out to be little cost effective, and many tests are being done. And if you remember my earlier slide where I was showing, almost 75,000 samples are being done in India itself. So with the decreasing with the increasing use of NIPT, the cost is going downward. And what Illumina has to offer, I mean, if you talk about Illumina's technology per se, what are the different options? So it's actually sequencing based applications where you do isolation of your mother DNA, extractions, library preparation, sequencing analysis, and with thus the clinical reporting. While Illumina does end-to-end support of this, right from DNA extraction to data analysis, and have two different approaches, NIPT 16 and NIPT 48, which also called NIPT VeriSeq V2. And some one with manual workflow, another with automated workflow, and then do the sequencing of it. So what do we get out of these two approaches? The one with manual approach is basically chromosomal output is for 5 important chromosomal disorders. Like it's mainly of a targeted sequencing for chromosome number 13, 18, 21, and 6 chromosome. And V2 is more like a whole genome approach, where do the sequencing for entire human whole genome, and then find out if trisomies or any deletions or any kind of issues with the growing fetus. And this is kind of an entire workflow actually looks like. As I said, it's analysis is also done by Illumina. Only thing, user has to report it at their own end. And it's a counting based applications where you see that if there's extra copy of a genome, it can be seen through different, I mean, the way the software actually reports. So if you see this picture, the X is chromosome number, Y is copy number, and you see at chromosome 21, you see extra copy, and it can be reflected through this kind of approach. Similar way is for PGS, or I mean PGT. It's again offered by a brand called Vitrolife. It's done a Illumina sequencing technology, where you again do the DNA extractions, template preparations, library prep, sequencing, and then analysis. It is also based on counting applications here. There's a software called EMAP, EMAP software. It does the counting of your chromosome, and depending on how many copies you have, you can actually find out if it's trisomy is in for chromosomal 13, if you see a y-axis, or chromosomal 21, which is basically chromosomal number will be shown on x-axis. Exome sequencing is the another approach. If you remember my initial slide where I was showing what are the different applications of it, exome sequencing is one where solutions are being offered. So exome actually generates a bigger data. Since we are talking about a human application, that too for almost 2% of our genetic material, it needs a bigger platform because of the sheer output. And when you have an output like this, it can only be handled through NextSeq series instruments or NovaSeq platforms. And so we have two options. It can be done through Illumina's WEX sequencing panel, or Twist Biosensors comprehensive genomic profiling panel, a comprehensive exome panel. And as I mentioning earlier, exome are 2% of the genome, but contains 85% of known disease-related variations. It has proven success in identifying new causal mutations for disease of previously unknown etiology, and also successful have a diagnostic with successful diagnostic rate of 25% for rare disorder and other clinical utilities, becoming increasingly popular. So Illumina's offerings have two panels, Exome V2 with all these panel size, and its a coverage around the different reference sequences. It actually follows the ACMG and likely pathogenic variant options, where it covers 100% of those genomic regions, and other follows the different guidelines. Workflow is again from preparations to reporting. It can extract genome DNA and with Illumina DNA prep with exome V2 enrichment reaction sequencing can be done on NovaSeq or NextSeq series instruments. There is a bioIT platform integrated with a system called Dragon, which does a secondary analysis of the data and followed by a two-side software suite or any other available solutions to do the reporting part of it. So I won't get into much detail of it. So only application what you should know, only the important information what should be known that we have a library preparations extractions and using these two available uh, library options and sequencing on the Illumina sequencing platform, NextSeq series sequencing platforms or NovaSeq. So I'll come to the other applications of it. Okay, so infectious HPV, STI, or COVID CWGS or the other applications. I'll focus mainly on HPV or STI screening. So these are human papilloma virus or sexually transmitted infections. There is a solutions available in the market which gets genotyping for high score HPV or low score HPV along with bacterial and viral sexually transmitted infections. So this basically very small and simple workflow where you have a DNA extractions. It follows a one pool PCR reaction for all different samples. After PCR, these samples are pooled together. After column purifications and quantification, it can be run on sequencing platforms. Since data is not needed much, even smaller platforms like iSeq, MiniSeq, MySeq will be enough to do this screenings for HPV and STI, and it is a very cost-effective solution similar to what we get like other traditional methods available in the market. And yeah, so this is one example for a COVID-seq, which we talked initially in our introduction part of it. It's the one other popular application in history. Almost 90% of COVID sequencing is being done on Illumina platforms. It also follow a workflow which is very easy and user friendly. In microbiology, the approach is whole genome sequencing, shotgun metagenomics, or 16S rRNA, or in virology, again, like utilizing whole genome sequencing, which will help us to know any drug resistant region in the genome. 16S rRNA basically to know like what kind of bacterial composition you have in the samples, and metagenomics samples again from sequencing you could know what is the composition of a pool of the samples. If they're without culturing your bacterial or viral strains, you can directly try an approach where you can sequence those samples and find out what is its composition. And it's basically utilized in wellness checkup. So suppose as we know our excuse me, as you know, our gut having a lot of microbial population, and that affects a lot of our metabolic reactions. And also sometimes it's also called as the second brain of our body, and based our bacterial microbial population in our gut, you get a lot of other phenotypes associated with it, and sometimes affects our neurological response, allergic responses, mood swings, and different other things, which you could actually get to know by sequencing. By taking a small sample from a stool, you can identify what are the bacterial composition in the gut, and depending on that, if you want to be, if your gut need to be supplemented with other probiotic things or not, this will help you to understand understand the composition of the gut and what kind of drugs will be effective for any kind of metabolic disorder. So this is one of the examples. So question is to know what we kind of find out is who are they, what do they do, and what changes they make to our body. And this all can be done through 16S rRNA sequencing or shotgun metagenomics for microbial thing. Okay, so HLA typing, many of you know HLA typing is sorry. So these are some genes which basically related with the donor and recipient in immune histocompatibility, histocompatibility complex. So this is basically to know if the organ transplant or any kind of transplant is going to happen, if it's compatible with the donor and accept the patient is having any kind of compatibility or not. So there are many options. This is again being done through sequencing methods. There are different brands in the market. So Illumina has actually tied up with a brand called CareDx. They have a high resolution HLA solutions which can be utilized through sequencing, and there are other third-party options. As I mentioned earlier, Illumina is an open system which takes the preparations and libraries coming from different brands. And once you have those library in the kind of format where like P5 and P7 adapters with those barcodings and other things, it can be utilized for sequencing on this system. So what is the advantage of Illumina's sequencing technology? So we discussed about different parameters like highest accuracy of Q30, scorings, which like whatever sequencing reads, it qualifies, like having accuracy of 99.9% accuracy. And according to the need, there is a highest data output options. From 300 MB to 6 TB means you can do smallest possible in organism sequencing to human whole genome sequencing on the Illumina series of platforms. Homopolymer error-free, meaning if there is a repetition of this, which is generally found to be challenging for other sequencing technology, when you have a similar kind of bases attached to each other, and you won't be able to distinguish between all these. So because of base-to-base sequencing, Illumina's next generation sequencing technology turned out to be a best possible options when you have a lot of homopolymers. And homopolymers are basically more significant in some of the genomic regions in our body, which are involved in cancer causing or any viral and bacterial genome, which has a lot of repeats. Automated paired-in sequencing, which means like it does sequencing from both the ends, from left to right and right to left. Onboard cluster generation is the another advantage, where once your libraries are prepared, you can directly put it on the system for sequencing. There won't be any need to make your library ready, easy, make your libraries to make ready on to put onto the system. Or if there's any robot or chef won't be needed. It directly going under the system, easy, simple preps, and the third-party flexibility, which I actually told you earlier. So what are the other things? So where this technology is being utilized? I mean, there are many setups in both universities, academia, and or private, where they're using our Illumina sequencing technology for various other needs. Some of them are here on the screen. Of course, this is not the complete list. What Raja Burman was showing earlier, that we have hundreds of users in Indian market utilizing next generation sequencing for various other applications. And clinical setups, you can see the bigger names here in the list, like Newberg, Supratech, SRL, Dr. Lal, Anand Pathologies, Tata Memorial Hospital, Actrec, Mumbai, AIIMS. They all are having Illumina sequencing platform, using it for either oncology or infectious or different other kind of applications. So with this, I would like to end my talk here. I would be happy to take any questions. I'm sorry for those interruptions in between because of my internet issues. As I said, I'm traveling, and maybe this is not very great signals I am receiving here. So I'm happy to take questions if you may have.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. What can be the source of sample collection for diagnosing a genetic disorder within the womb, apart from amniotic fluid?
So it can be like I was talking, our NIPT solution is based on the same thing. It's collected from mother's blood. So, when the fetus is growing, it sheds DNA in the bloodstream of mother. So when you take a blood draw from mother's arm, it actually has a majority of them will be mother's blood, but will also be the circulating DNA from the fetus also. So when you extract DNA, we can get an enrichment from a fetal DNA and do the genetic sequencing on those samples to get to know the genetic makeup of it, if those have any extra copy or any genetic abnormality of the growing fetus. So DNA one is rightly said, like amniotic fluid is one, which is done by invasive way, but non-invasive way means like doing it same thing from a mother's blood.
Yes, no, Ashutosh, there is no more questions. So thank you so much for the talk. Yeah.